The wait for Nifty scaling 10,000 mark has just got longer, with the bulls taking a breather after 4 consecutive sessions of gains, but then a flat session of performance for the market. Hello and welcome to Bloomberg Quint Market Wrap. Agam and I will be wrapping up the market action for you. A flat session of performance for Nifty. Infosys delivers in line with estimates number, but TCS disappointment weighs on the sentiment. If you just look at the chart here, the top gainers and the losers for the day, the show was clearly stole by pharmaceutical stocks out here. Aurobindo Pharma ended up with gains of around 5.5%. Next we have Gale India, which was topped the list with gains of around 4.9%. ACC made it to the list ahead of its earning, ending the day with gains of around 3%. On the flip side, you saw some oil marketing companies such as Indian Oil ending the day with losses of around 2%. Then we had the obvious TCS, which too ended the day with loss of around 2%. Tata Motors, DVRs, Coal India, they all made it to the list of losers and ended the day with losses in the range of around 1 to 2%. Agam, a busy day for you. Too many earnings.
Yes, absolutely. It has been a very busy day for me. Before we address some of the ongoings of the markets, let's bring in the market voice here. Let me bring in Dinesh Rohira. He is the founder of Finance.com. Dinesh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Starting off with your direction and the way you're looking at the markets with respect to the Nifty and the Sensex specifically.
So Nifty is closing towards 10,000. Right. It gives the same feeling as Sensex touched towards 10,000 many years back. Right. So it won't be a straight run towards 10,000. It will play around between 10,000. It could intermediately give a top before 10,000 or post 10,000.
Right.
Right. But yes, we are closing to the near-term top. Okay. In the next couple of weeks.
All right. So Dinesh, I know that you track fundamentals as well as technicals for the markets. The reason why you're expecting a correction, is that because of valuations or is it because...
It's both because of valuations as well as the sharp run-up that it has happened over the last few months.
Okay. All right.
So we need to take a breather and it will be good for the markets.
Right.
Otherwise, if it runs up to 10,300 or plus, then we can see a much sharper correction from there on.
Okay. So there you have it. At least as far as the Nifty is concerned, well, we're looking at 10,000 for sure. But speaking of the Nifty and its components, we've had earnings from the information technology sector. So we had TCS announce earnings yesterday, where it missed street expectations, especially on the back of margins, which contracted much more than what the street was going with. On the other hand, Infosys, again, while we have seen a margins contraction, what we're seeing is, as far as the top line and the bottom line is concerned, is just a tad better than street expectations. But on the whole, we have seen a decline when it comes to margins, EBIT, as well as profitability for both these information technology giants. And that also brings me to my next question. How do you deal with information technology right now?
So the sector is going to be a bit of underperformer overall, even if but it's not going to fall further significantly, right? There's about 4 to 5% downside that we see on the overall sector.
Right.
It has been managed well with the buybacks and similar others, corporate actions that has been taken over on the sector, right? So Infosys looks better than TCS, right? But the rest of the sector is going to be moderate to underperformance.
Okay.
Since you've just spoken about IT sector, how do you see the overall Q1 season to be? Any sector that you feel will outperform or needs to be?
So cement sector looks good. That's one of the reasons why ACC has been moving up, as well as Birla Corp and Rain Industries have been moving up as well. And traditionally this sector has been providing good Q1 results, right? But I would say the financial services sector would be doing decently well. Right, pharma and IT are not going to perform that great.
Okay, so we are looking at some underperformance in the pharma and IT sector. Another group of stocks that I did want to address was the likes of Reliance, ITC and HUL, which have been dragging the markets up to a certain extent.
Yes.
But let's leave ITC and HUL out right now. Let's just talk about Reliance for now. What is your call there?
Call is positive on Reliance.
Okay.
Call is positive. After a long term of underperformance in Reliance, we have seen Reliance move upwards from 1,060 levels right up to 1,500 odd levels. Right. So it may correct a bit, right? But we do see a 1,600 to 1,700 levels in Reliance in the medium term.
Okay, so and talking about, of course, the FMCG sector, again ITC and HUL. ITC has run a little more than HUL recently.
So ITC and HUL have been beneficiaries of the GST regime.
Right.
The GST regime has been pretty good to the FMCG sector.
Yeah.
Particularly for ITC, the overhang on the cigarette taxation has moved away. So there's nothing that holds ITC back,
Right.
whereas their plans are also significantly good. So ITC looks overperforming HUL.
The other sector that you really want to talk about is cement now. ACC was the top gainer of the day. For
Yeah.
the week, it's up around as much as 8 odd
9
percent.
odd
So
percent.
do you see any price-led recovery coming in for cement companies in Q1?
Yes, I do expect better results from the cement sector in Q1. But having said that, as rains start coming in, the sector will start slowing down. But the infra push that is coming along in the country, that is going to keep the sector up. That's going to keep the sector up. So overall, positive on the sector.
Right. So, now that we've addressed some of the large caps, let's also take a look at what's happened intraday in the mid-cap space. In the broader markets, we're looking at, well, nearly one loser for two gainers. It's the other way around, I beg your pardon. Nearly one gainer for two losers. And in the losing end, we have substantial weakness in Minda Corp, which has declined by 8.6%, and Phoenix Mills, Shilpi Cables and Videocon Industries somehow making it to the list again. Not a surprise. Inox Wind, Bhushan Steel, as well as Nalco also declining by a little over, anywhere between 3.5% to 4%. Now let's come to the gainers. We have Unitech up as much as 9.3%, and Biocon, one of the beneficiaries of the US FDA Advisory Committee giving a positive vote to its trastuzumab drug. Ramco Systems, Religare Enterprises and Praj Industries have also gained to a certain extent, followed by Central Bank also gaining, well, 5.9%, and Syngene International following Biocon's gains also up as much as 5.8%. And since we are talking about Biocon, we have seen substantial gains. The stock has re-rated.
Yes.
It is at, well, it is making new highs.
Yes.
Do you expect the stock to continue?
The stock will continue to overperform. Okay. There is a significantly large development that's happening in Biocon.
Correct.
It may re-rate the entire stock over the next few weeks.
Okay.
Also, your view on NBFC.
Yeah.
I'd like to specifically ask you about AU Small Finance Bank. Now it's among the top listed NBFCs in terms of market
Yes.
capitalization we've had. Ever since its listing, it has a good run. But today the stock has tanked as much as 20 odd percent.
Yes.
Your view on the entire space?
It's a good stock, but it's completely overvalued. And that's one of the reasons why you've seen the downside today. It's quoting close to 9 to 10 times the book value.
Right.
You haven't seen that kind of valuations ever.
Yes.
So while if you look at an RBL bank vis-a-vis an AU Small Finance Bank, you'll be better off buying an RBL bank. But when it comes closer to 500 rupees, there will be many more takers for AU Small Finance Bank.
Right.
Alright, the same kind of lofty valuation, are you seeing some kind of similar trend playing out for NBFCs, or you have a bullish view on the sector?
I do see that the NBFC segment will has seen significant amount of value accreditation throughout the bull phase.
Right.
So once the market looks for some correction, these will be the sectors which will get hit hard faster.
Right.
But then that's the sector you should be looking at investment from a medium to long term perspective.
Okay. Well, once again, with respect to the range and the kind of data where we're looking at in the futures and options space, that is also suggesting that the range has certainly shifted upwards based on the open interest in options. But with that, we'd like to thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank
As
you.
for you guys, well, this is the market action today, but we will be back next week with lots more on earnings. Stay tuned to the Bloomberg Quint, and we will keep bringing you more.